This and more coming up on The Whitney Reynolds Show.
And just to think about those feelings and how lost I was at the time and where I am today, it's overwhelming and rejoicing at the same time because I'm in such a great space.
Boop is basically about Betty Boop. She comes to the real world and she's trying to find something that she feels like she's missing in life. And she meets these people along the way that help her discover what it is she's missing.
I created Keyshawn Solves It to be a fun mystery for kids, and hopefully that kids, when they listen, they're following with Keyshawn and understanding and solving the mystery with them.
The Whitney Reynolds Show is made possible by Simple Modern, drinkware with unique styles for adults and kids. Take us with you. Kevin O'Connor Law Firm. When it comes to your injuries, we take it personally. Together at Peace, a foundation with a mission to generate financial support for hospitals, schools, and many charities that provide compassionate bereavement care and foster spiritual resilience. We are here to inspire tangible moments and share the light of loved ones who have passed away, always doing good in their honor. Children's Learning Place, a school for the earliest learners dedicated to aiding every child in uncovering the power of learning. Our curriculum is centered around empowering young students with the confidence to overcome present and future challenges to promote a brighter future for our youth and community. The Adventures of the Harry Moon book series for kids that focuses on becoming your best self with themes of friends, anti-bullying, and responsibility at harrymoon.org. Kevin Kelly, joeperillo.com, High Five Sports, Fume Claire, Respiratory Health Association, Hearing Health Center, Mike Dyer with Edward Jones.
Welcome to The Whitney Reynolds Show. Today we meet everyday detectives, the show that takes you on a captivating journey into the world of people on self-discovery. Here we believe your story matters.
Whatever the story is behind those scars, I think it's beautiful.
I was that story, the one that needed a safe space.
We can build a stage, speak life back into this community.
So we created it.
From this moment on, everything has changed.
Just treat housing as a human right.
When I was, I think, 15 months old, my mom adopted me.
I've been transitioning for 3.5 years, and I'm nowhere near being close to where I want to be.
My vision for this podcast is I want kids to be introduced to these keys of success. The beginning, I would say, of the thoughts about Keyshawn happened after the events of George Floyd. It was such a significant experience being in that community. And for me, a lot of, I guess, the thoughts I had were about kids. You know, how are they experiencing this? What are they feeling about this? And also, how are those kids in Minneapolis? How do they identify, especially African American kids? How are they feeling their identity and their value is in this situation?
Ed Jenkins is the creator of Keyshawn Solves It, a podcast on PBS Kids.
You know, I thought if there was any place in the world that I could set the stage for this story, I wanted to be North Minneapolis. And because I wanted to show the positive and show just that there are kids that are doing extraordinary things in that city.
So often when tragedy strikes and we see the news and we see these headlines, you know, we get this knee-jerk reaction, and yours was immediately for the kids. Was this because you were a dad?
Well, yes, I'm a dad of a 3-year-old son. He was very, very young at that time. But really, I mean, I've worked with kids for 20 years. You know, I am a person who, I think my calling is to inspire kids to do great things. And so my heart is always thinking about kids and families and how they can be the best selves that they are. You know?
When you were living in real time with this George Floyd moment and in your city, did it trigger anything thinking back to your childhood?
It is a part of a history that is very common. You know, so growing up, hearing about things, understanding the way that the world was. I mean, I think that's what brings out the anger and the rage of it. And I think that what some people now can understand is that injustice for the one is really ultimately injustice for an unjust society for everyone. And that really we need to be people who work together to solve these big issues.
But yet you're able to somehow take that and make it into a detective podcast that takes kids on a journey to understand how they navigate these things.
Yeah, because I think that the reality of it is, okay, so moving past these things in justice, what is the world that we want to see our kids live in? Like showing kids doing something extraordinary, showing they have voice, they have agency. To be able to handle a tough situation. Yeah. And so Keyshawn, I mean, one real strong theme through it is what I call keys to success.
On the podcast, we follow a 10-year-old African-American boy who inherits a set of keys that can unlock any door. Listeners will be introduced to Juneteenth and where it began, as well as social and emotional keys to success, such as resilience, self-worth, and responsibility.
Every kid has value, regardless of who you are, where you live. But do they know that?
Right.
Are they hearing that, you know, and having that kind of encouragement? And so one of the things that I wanted to do with Keyshawn Solves It was to speak encouragement and highlight these certain key values of. So when Keyshawn is experiencing it, when the listener is hearing it too, that we really are telling the listener, you know, that remember your self-worth. Wow. Don't waste a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes, but we want to learn from those mistakes. And just consistently every episode, these things that he discovers is really what I'm hoping that takeaway from listeners actually experiencing themselves and saying, wait a minute, you know, I can do this. You know, I can solve things. I can problem solve. You know, and that they start living that out in their lives.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
I came from California. I can't fly because shared air with other people. I mean, obviously I have to wear a respirator to go to a lot of places. So for me, flying is not an option. I have airborne allergies, chemical allergies. I'm pretty much allergic to the world, and this is how I survive.
We welcomed the allergy chef to Chicago. We chose to tape this interview in my home because of all the extra safety precautions needed for her allergies. She drove in a Suburban because she can't fly. It's also equipped with a bed and a refrigerator to keep her food fresh. She drove all the way from California. Kathlena, aka the Allergy Chef, developed her business from her firsthand experience. She has over 200 food allergies. She is contact and airborne allergic to many things, some more severe than others, and they can even be life-threatening. She wears a respirator in public because this device allows her to leave her house safely and, as she said, without dying. Welcome to my kitchen. It's super surreal having you here.
I'm so glad to be here. It was a drive, but it was worth it.
So we're actually gonna make cupcakes.
We are. I want to teach you how to decorate some free-from cupcakes. So they're gluten-free, what we call top 9 free, so no milk, wheat, egg, soy, peanut, tree nut, fish, shellfish, no coconut, no sesame. They're also free from other things as well to make it super inclusive. And so today I've got 2 flavors of cupcakes for you, and then I've got 5 flavors of frosting. But I'm gonna teach you how to decorate. I got a bunch of tips here. We're gonna decorate, and then of course you're gonna eat some. You know, people look at my story and they go, wow, you're allergic to so much, how do you do it? And it's like, I don't really look at my problems. I kind of go, okay, this is what you have, great. Now go change the world.
Yes.
And that's my thing. Like, if I have the power to do, why wouldn't I?
Today she will be teaching us how to decorate cupcakes. She prepped everything prior to the interview. This recipe and her others are private. That is, until you join her platform. Then she releases customized dishes, cookbooks, and more. This path for safe food was formed after her near-death experience.
I was essentially sick my entire life. I got the proper diagnosis in my 20s. I'm what you would call a complex case. I'm not straightforward, you know? And so Not only that, but you wouldn't believe it probably looking at me, but I weighed about 450 pounds. I was like super morbidly obese. And it wasn't from, sitting and eating. It was literally my body could not process anything. So it was just storing all this toxicity, and it was bad. It was so bad.
Wow. So then when you did discover what it is, what would you say when you say your diagnosis to people?
Yeah.
What would you say to our audience you have? I know it's 200 plus allergies.
Basically, my diagnosis is allergic to everything.
Allergic to everything.
That's, what's really interesting is at one point they even thought I have a really rare water allergy.
I saw that.
Because I can't drink most water. It all makes me very sick. Turns out I'm allergic to the processing of water. So when you turn on your water from the tap, it's gone through a bunch of systems.
Right.
I'm allergic to those systems.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tell us about how you've kept going.
This lady, her husband got diagnosed, and she reached out. I don't even know how she found me. So I send her like all these, just loads and loads of information. And she responds back, and she's like, the doctors were not able to tell me what you told me, and you literally just saved his life.
Wow.
See, when people are telling you that, who am I to quit?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, when
Yes.
God has given you a purpose, and you're really good at it, like, who are you to quit? Take your power back, recognize what's in the world, right? Air, water, food, movement, medicine, all of it. Like, recognize what's going on, take control, and live your best life. Like, there are options. I'm not saying it's easy. You do need elbow grease if you're gonna live my way, but it's doable.
From the flower tip to the French star, we made glamorous cupcakes. Yet it was the kitchen conversation that was the real soul food. Her story to keep going, despite the circumstances. Now that's her secret recipe.
You're teaching me so much more than a recipe today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Kathlena and I ended up chatting more than creating. But for all her tips on decorating these cupcakes, go to our website. And now to Angelica Hale, an actor who plays the curious friend of Betty Boop in the musical. Both are on a journey to self-discovery, something Angelica knows about firsthand. Welcome to the show.
Hi, it's so great to be here.
First of all, tell our audience how old you are.
I'm Angelica Hale. I'm 16 years old, and I am here in Chicago, and I'm having the best time ever.
Well, it's funny, when you introduced yourself, it took me back to your time on America's Got Talent.
Yeah, AGT was my first time on a really big stage, and I think, that's really what launched my career. I'm so grateful that I had that amazing experience.
Well, and hearing your voice then as a 9-year-old, incredible, and now growing it, you continued on. So you're here doing Boop. Tell us about the play.
So Boop is basically about Betty Boop. She comes to the real world, and she's trying to find something that she feels like she's missing in life. And she meets these people along the way that help her discover what it is she's missing. Hint, hint,
Yeah.
she meets Trisha, who I play in Boop the Musical, and we both learn many things from each other.
Oh, so she's on this road of self-discovery.
Exactly.
And you also personally have been on this road of self-discovery. At a young age, you actually had a health scare.
Exactly. So when I was 4 years old, I had double pneumonia, and I also went into septic shock. So it ravaged my organs, and I basically ultimately needed a kidney transplant. I lost 20% of my right lung, which is crazy because I'm a singer.
Yeah.
I needed that.
You needed that.
But here I am. Here I am today, and I'm still prevailing. And my kidney transplant was actually from my mom. And
Wow.
I'm currently 10 years kidney strong now.
That is so great. Tell me, how have you been able to adapt?
As a growing teenager, I think a lot of teenagers these days have a lot of problems with self-confidence, and I have had trouble myself. And this show, Trisha, she has her own problems with self-esteem, and she's got this creative light that Betty Boop, because she's crazy about Betty Boop, and Betty really is that inspiration and light for her, but sometimes she has trouble finding her inner unique Trisha light, and sometimes I have trouble finding my own light, but I have such amazing friends and family who've helped me keep that self-confidence.
Yes.
Always remember to find that light inside of me whenever I feel down.
On January 9th, 2017, my father passed away. He had a heart attack unexpectedly. So we decided to build a family tree. And later that year, as we were doing our discovery and talking to our family, my middle brother, Jermaine, took a DNA test. I decided to follow suit and take a DNA test. However, when my results came back, I found out that I was not even on the Jackson family tree.
It all started with a call that would unlock a mystery.
You go ahead, you make that phone call.
Yes, to who is my brother, or my half-brother on my paternal side, David. He's like, Janine, oh my gosh, I can't believe you found me. My heart is racing. And even talking to you now and remembering on that moment, I feel like a mild panic kind of raising up in me because I thought it was a part of a scam. I don't understand what's going on. He tells me the story about his dad as a teenager, and he and his girlfriend had this baby and they couldn't take care of her, and she was placed in adoption. And I'm like, wait, what is going on? And he's like, well, you're my adoptive sister. I'm like, wait, I'm not adopted. And he's like, this isn't a joke, Janine. I said, I know it's not a joke, and I don't know who you are. How did you get my information to even call me? And he told me that he bought a background report on me.
And this random phone call felt like a prank or a scheme.
And so I emailed this woman, and her email said, I believe, I'm your mother.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry. I haven't revisited that moment in a moment. That later that evening, David sent me an email with the case manager's information, phone number, everything. And then he sent me a newborn picture of me. And I remember sitting up at the computer going, oh my gosh, and very visual. And I started visualizing my baby book, and I'm going through the pages, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there are no newborn pictures of me in my baby book. I called my youngest brother and I said, Jamar, it says here that I'm about 25, 26% Ashkenazi Jew. And I'm like, Mom's name is a Jewish name. Maybe Mom's dad isn't who her dad is. So I call her. And she's like, why are you calling me with this mess? She's like, I'm sorry, can't help you. It is what it is. And before I hung up, I said, fine, Mom, but I have a question for you. What is an Ashkenazi Jew? She's like, why? I said, because I'm 26%. Well, we have great-greats that are part German.
It wasn't until the call with the adoption agency where this misfit puzzle started coming together.
And she's like, okay, I have your records right here. And I'm like, what do you mean, records? She's like, you were adopted on May, and I think it was May or June of 1972. And she gave the names of my mother and my father. And she actually gave the maiden name of my mom.
It was piecing together this puzzle. The gaps, the sadness, the past, and now this new family.
And she said, because on, I believe it was January 9th, 2017, the adoption laws were lifted. And I started crying. And she's like, ma'am, are you okay? And I said, my father passed unexpectedly on January 9th, 2017.
Wow.
I'm like, what else about my life do I not know? And I said, who are my birth parents? And she gave me the names. And when she gave me my birth father's name, I'm like, that's a Jewish name. She was like, wait, ma'am, your birth father is Jewish. And I said, a black Jew? And she said, no, ma'am, your birth father is white. You're mixed race. I'm like, what? So I called my mom. I'm like, hey, Mom, how's it going? And I said, I have a question for you. And I said, I want you to understand that it's coming from a place of love and that it's going to be very strange. She's like, sure, what is it? I said, I was told today that I was adopted, and I was wondering if you can confirm that or not. And she's like, who told you that? And I got very serious. I said, the Children's Society of New Jersey. And she said, Oh, okay. I made a promise to your father and to God that if you ever came to one of us with that question, I'd tell you the truth. And I said, why would I come to you with that question? And she says, Janine, I need you to be quiet. She said, I was told that I couldn't bear children. Your father and I had just moved to New Jersey, and we adopted you. And at that moment, that's when I believed. And I said, I just want to let you know I'm going to explore this journey full force.
Did she beg you not to?
My mom is like, go for it, it is your story. I called my brother David back. It was April 10th. And I called him and I said, you're right, I am adopted. I am your sister. And he says, oh my gosh, you will not believe what just came through on my text. And he texted to me, and I look at my phone, and it was National Siblings Day. I had never heard of that holiday.
Wow.
And I literally was like, who invented this holiday? I hate it, right? But then in July of 2018, I called my birth mother and my birth father. I had spoken to them a couple times on the phone.
And they are no longer together?
No, they split after I was born. She was, I believe she was 17 and he was 16. And I said, I called my birth mother first and I said, I'm asking you for one motherly thing. I need you to come to California to meet me. And she's like, not a problem. And I said, my birth father is going to be there too. And she's like, okay, I haven't seen him in years, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for you. And I called my birth father before I could even finish the sentence. I think he was already online booking a ticket. I met them at a gallery, a small gallery in Santa Monica, and we had the whole space to ourselves. And they get out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, these two strangers are my birth parents? This is odd. I don't look like them. Why am I comparing myself to them? In my head, I'm like, Mom, Dad,
Yes.
Where are you? I need you guys right now. I hugged my birth mother. It was like a repressed memory.
It brought on a wave of emotion. She channeled that though, and with a simple thought, she delivered it to her kids. That thought planted a seed, and it blossomed into much more, now helping others.
I decided it's time for me to tell my children because I did not want to keep secrets from them.
It's a lot of moving parts.
It's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
There's race, there's different families, there's adoption.
Right.
And so the school had a garden. His class, the kindergarten, had a kindergarten, and I saw these two tomatoes, a red one and a yellow one. And at the bottom of the vine, there was a little tiny kind of orangish tomato that had fallen. And I said, Mommy's like, those tomatoes. You see all of the red tomatoes? That's the Jackson family and the Clark family. That's my family that I've always known as my family. But on that vine, there's a red tomato and a yellow tomato. The yellow tomato is my birth father, and the red tomato is my birth mom. And all the way at the bottom, that little one that fell off the vine, that's me. And I said, a warm wind's gonna blow, and a ladybug, who's the adoption agent, is gonna find that baby tomato a forever home just like me. And he's like, oh, and we're looking at the tomatoes, and he's like, oh, okay. I said, we're all tomatoes, but we're just a little different. And so when he wasn't looking, I took the tomato and I threw it over to the red vine. And the next day, he said, when I picked him up for school, he goes, Mommy, the ladybug helped the tomato find a forever home just like you.
Wow.
I was like, yep. And she's gonna grow really big, and maybe one day she'll tell her son, who's a tomato, what happened. I remember the first Mother's Day, which was a really tough one for me. I said, now that I do understand the complexities of race, especially when it comes to adoption, you all didn't see a black baby, a white baby. You saw me for everything that I am, and thank you for loving me, caring for me, and most importantly, for liking me.
There's our everyday detectives. A reminder that we can all discover more in our journeys. Remember, your story matters.
The Whitney Reynolds Show is made possible by Simple Modern, drinkware with unique styles for adults and kids. Take us with you. Kevin O'Connor Law Firm. When it comes to your injuries, we take it personally. Together at Peace, a foundation with a mission to generate financial support for hospitals, schools, and many charities that provide compassionate bereavement care and foster spiritual resilience. We are here to inspire tangible moments and share the light of loved ones who have passed away, always doing good in their honor. Children's Learning Place, a school for the earliest learners dedicated to aiding every child in uncovering the power of learning. Our curriculum is centered around empowering young students with the confidence to overcome present and future challenges to promote a brighter future for our youth and community. The Adventures of the Harry Moon book series for kids that focuses on becoming your best self with themes of friends, anti-bullying, and responsibility at harrymoon.org. Kevin Kelly, joeperillo.com, High Five Sports, Fume Claire, Respiratory Health Association, Hearing Health Center, Mike Dyer with Edward Jones.
Want to stay connected to all things Whitney Reynolds? Well, follow us on social media and you'll get exclusive content and updates from the show. All episodes are available for streaming anytime.